Joining us now, senior economic advisor to the Trump campaign, Committee to Unleash Prosperity co-founder and co-author of The Trump Economic Miracle, Steve Moore. Steve, why? Is this all they know how to do is spend money? Whether I don't want to hear, oh, well, it was allocated by Congress.
Right.
Well, great to be with you guys. And by the way, Dagan, congratulations. Who knew that Donald Trump was watching your show every night? I mean, how cool is that?
That's true.
Listen, this is a scramble by Joe Biden to do what he did from day one when he came into office, right, David, which is just spend as much as they possibly could, like kids in a candy store. Yeah. And it's kind of ironic that it started on day one and it's probably going to end the day before he leaves the White House. But, you know, if you look at the exit polling, you know, the third biggest issue behind illegal immigration and inflation was out of control debt and deficits. And so the American people are sick of this. They realize it's a cancer cell in Washington and it's got to stop. And so this is irresponsible. I mean, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris just got a spanking from voters for their out-of-control spending, and now they're just continuing like nothing happened.
Steve, what bugs me the most is this CHIPS Act spending, the $280 billion in the CHIPS Act.
You read my mind.
I mean, that is the most, and of course, there are a lot of Republicans to blame for that, too. There are about a dozen Republican senators who voted for that damn thing. But $6.6 billion going to the Taiwanese. But what it really does, it differentiates between the Trump way of thinking and the Democrats' way of thinking. The Democrats are all about giving money away. The Republicans are all about incentives. And Donald Trump wants to increase incentives, not giveaways to companies from Taiwan, but we're going to lower the corporate rate, even for foreign companies who come into 15% if you do business here. It's incentives versus subsidies, right?
Yeah, it sure is, and that's exactly the way to put it. Because what the Biden approach was to pick winners and losers. You know, like they're a venture capitalist. So guess what? Yeah. They're not very good at it. No. They're good at that. Look at what happened with Intel. Intel was will be the number one recipient of this money, and Intel's stock has crashed. Meanwhile, NVIDIA, which also makes chips, they haven't gotten a single penny of this money, and they're booming. So it shows the government isn't very good at this. You're right. We should let the private sector decide the picking the winners and the losers. And we don't want companies coming to Washington begging for money with their tin cups. The Americans are sick of that as well.
I'm not joking when I was hitting David. Why did high-margin, lucrative businesses need hundreds of billions of dollars in handouts to make chips?
Corporate welfare.
Here, exactly.
Yeah.
I could talk about this all day. But
can I just say one quick thing on the way out? Look what happened with the electric vehicle industry. It was doing really well. It was rising. Biden comes in, starts subsidizing it. Yeah. And then David and Dagan, what happened? It crashed. They would have been better off if Joe Biden had just left the whole industry alone and stopped telling people they had to buy the cars.
They're terrible at picking winners and losers, and you siphon, you redirect capital away from entrepreneurs who might have the next great, like, nuclear reactor toward garbage technologies. Let's move on to this. I know David's interested in it. Should we call it the Trump effect? A survey finds more than 2/3 of major companies plan to move operations out of China.
Perfect.
That number up 14% since last year. Look out, he's coming back to the White House. Did these companies know that President Trump was, doing well in the polls and was going to come back, and they better get their butts out of China because the tariffs are coming?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, and it just gets to the point that David was just making. You know, Trump's approach is just make America a haven, an investment haven where you're treated well by government and you don't have excessive taxes. And by the way, those tariffs also have an effect. But you're now starting to see companies moving back to the United States. I love it. And he's not even in office yet.
Yeah, it's perfect. And we continue, though, to hear these stories from the Nobel Prize-winning economists saying that, in fact, Trump's policies are going to lead to more inflation. You know, not only has he got Elon and Vivek to cut the government, but he's also got all of these incentives that we've been talking about in this segment that are going to increase productivity. And guess what? If you have more productivity, you have less what? Inflation. So we'll get less inflation because of less government spending and less inflation because of more productivity, more goods being made.
No, it's well said. I can't do better than that. And, I do think we're going to see a real renaissance, not just in the technology industries, but I actually think, David and Dagan, we're going to see a renaissance. You heard it first on your show, in manufacturing and construction and the blue-collar jobs. They're going to come back.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Because the 184,000 manufacturing jobs have been lost.
That's it.
Since January of last year.
That's right.
Steve Moore, great to see you, sir.
Good
Thank
stuff,
you.
Steve.